Look at this ledger. If you ask how much a multinational corporation values a human life killed by their own negligence, history provides a very precise, documented answer. Exactly $660. The year was 1984. In Bhopal, India, the American chemical giant Union Carbide operated a massive manufacturing plant right alongside some of the city's most densely populated, impoverished neighborhoods. We are usually told that industrial catastrophes of this scale are flukes, unpredictable acts of God that take everyone by surprise and couldn't possibly be prevented. But what happened in Bhopal was entirely predictable. The entire disaster was methodically engineered, line by line on a corporate spreadsheet that explicitly prioritized profit margins over basic human safety. Calling this an accident lets the people in charge off the hook. The reality is that 25,000 human lives were ultimately traded for a few deliberate operational cost savings. The warnings started in 1982. An inspection team led by C.S. Tyson visited the factory and documented glaring hazards. The plant relied dangerously on manual controls, forcing a single operator to monitor over 70 different instrument panels, many of which were already prone to failure. This chart shows exactly how management responded to those warnings. Between 1983 and 1984, to save money, Union Carbide slashed the factory workforce by 50%. Leaky valves were left to drip. Broken pressure gauges were completely ignored. They even downgraded the physical infrastructure. The heavy-duty stainless steel pipes routing dangerous chemicals were swapped out for cheaper carbon steel, a material that degrades and corrodes far more quickly. Then came the final fatal compromise. There were 6 independent safety systems specifically designed to stop a toxic gas leak. To cut maintenance costs, every single one of them was either shut down or left broken. 6 systems, 0 defenses. By systematically stripping away every layer of protection for a minor bump in quarterly savings, the corporate leadership guaranteed that a disaster was mathematically inevitable. That math caught up with them on the night of December 2, 1984. Deep inside the factory, water somehow managed to enter a massive chemical storage container known as Tank 610. Tank 610 held methyl isocyanate, or MIC. It is a highly volatile chemical compound that triggers a violent chemical reaction the moment it touches water. Inside the tank, temperatures skyrocketed. The pressure spiked until the heady containment valves blew open. With all the alarms disconnected and the backup systems disabled, there was no warning. Under the cover of darkness, 27 tons of highly toxic gas poured out of the plant and rolled directly into the surrounding streets. The geography of the fallout was strictly drawn by class. Wealthy residents lived further away and were largely spared. But the impoverished slums bordering the factory walls, places like Rani Nagar and Qazi Camp, took a direct, concentrated hit of poison. Farhat Jahan was only 5 months old that night. As the suffocating gas burned people's eyes and lungs, a massive stampede broke out in the pitch black. Farhat's mother grabbed her and ran, getting violently separated from the rest of her family in the chaos. They survived by huddling in a park until morning. But the tens of thousands of people choking in the dark were paying the physical price for Union Carbide's balance sheet. 5 days later, the Union Carbide CEO, Warren Anderson, arrived in India. The contrast between the victims fighting for air and the treatment of the man is staggering. Anderson was briefly arrested, but within 6 hours he was granted bail, escorted to a government airplane, and flown out of the country. He lived the rest of his life in the United States and died in 2014, having never faced a day in court. Look at this visual breakdown of the civil settlement reached in 1989. The company agreed to pay the Indian government $470 million. On a headline, that sounds substantial, but watch what happens when you divide that number by the hundreds of thousands of people who were poisoned. The math reduces a lifetime of agonizing medical issues to an average payout of roughly $260 per victim. And for the families of those who died, the ultimate value of a human life was calculated at $660. It took until 2010, 26 years after the gas leaked, for 7 local Indian employees to be convicted. Their punishment for wiping out a city was a small fine and a 2-year prison sentence. They were out on bail within hours. The international legal system didn't punish Union Carbide's cruel arithmetic. It legally enforced it. The courts effectively capped the penalty for mass death at a price a corporation could comfortably afford. If you think this ledger was closed in the 1980s, you need to look at the ground in Bhopal. The factory site was never properly decontaminated. Greenpeace and others have repeatedly found toxic heavy metals saturating the local soil and groundwater. By 2002, researchers were finding mercury, lead, and dangerous organochlorines inside the breast milk of local mothers. The chemical exposure is rewriting the biology of the city. Farhad Jahan, the infant who survived the stampede, later watched one sister die of kidney failure at 24, and another rely entirely on dialysis. Now, a third generation is being born with severe developmental disorders and physical defects. In 2001, Dow Chemical purchased Union Carbide, but Dow maintains that because they didn't own the facility in 1984, they bear absolutely no legal or financial responsibility for cleaning up the poisoned land they inherited. The legacy of Bhopal leaves us with a brutal question. Is a poor person's life simply cheaper than a corporation's profit margin? Looking at the unclean dirt and the struggling families in India today, it is clear that for the people holding the checkbook, the math hasn't changed at all.